Listen to me. You want the dream. You want the success. You want the applause, but you don't want the process. You want the reward, but you're running from the work. Let me tell you something. The grind, the sweat, the pain, the early mornings, the late nights, that is where champions are made. You don't rise when it's time to perform. You rise when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when no one's validating you. Fall in love with the process or fall in love with being average. You choose. You want to win. You want to be great, but you're focused on the end goal. You're addicted to the outcome, to the reward, to the applause. But what you fail to understand is that the outcome is a byproduct. It's not what makes you. You don't become legendary on the stage. You become legendary in the dark when no one's watching. You want the crown, but you don't want the crucible. You want to hold the trophy, but you don't want to bleed for it. Let me say this loud and clear. The process builds the person, not the prize. See, the prize is easy to glorify. It's shiny, it's public, it's Instagrammable. But let me break this down for you. The real transformation happens before you ever taste victory. The transformation is in the early mornings when you don't feel like getting up. It's in the moments you feel like quitting, but you keep going anyway. It's in the hundreds of times you fail, adjust, and come back stronger. It's in the discipline of showing up day after day when nothing around you is changing, yet you keep grinding anyway. That's the process. That's what builds you. Too many people are so obsessed with winning that they forget the work. They're addicted to shortcuts. They're hunting hacks. But let me tell you something. You can't microwave greatness. There is no elevator to your dream. You have to take the stairs, and every single step is part of the process. And the more you try to skip steps, the more unprepared you'll be when you finally get there. That's why people lose it as fast as they get it, because they never let the process mold them into someone strong enough to sustain success. You can't build muscle without tearing fibers. You can't get stronger without resistance. You can't learn resilience unless you've been broken. That's the price. That's what the process does. It breaks you down in order to build you back up. And if you run from it, if you hate it, if you avoid it, you're also running from your growth. You're saying no to your evolution. Let me make this real. Look at the champions, the icons, the top dogs. They didn't wake up like that. They didn't get lucky. They were built in silence. Kobe Bryant was in the gym before the lights came on. Serena Williams trained like her life depended on it. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team and came back hungrier. They weren't chasing a moment. They were married to the process. They fell in love with the reps, with the sweat, with the grind. That's why they were able to handle the big stage, because they paid their dues in the dark. You want to win, but you hate practice. You want the physique, but you hate training. You want the followers, but you hate creating when no one's watching. You want success, but you run from the solitude. Let me tell you, you will never rise to the level of your dreams. You will fall to the level of your habits. And habits are built through process. Not once, not twice, daily, relentlessly. And I get it. The process is uncomfortable. It's frustrating, but that's what makes it powerful. When you commit to the process, you're not just developing skills. You're developing character. You're developing mental toughness. You're proving to yourself that you're someone who finishes what they start. You're not just chasing a goal. You're becoming the kind of person who can earn it and keep it. Let me ask you this. What if you stopped chasing the results and started falling in love with the work? What if you didn't just tolerate the grind? You embraced it. What if the work became your joy, your identity, your standard? Then the success wouldn't be an accident. It'd be inevitable. Because when you're consistent with the process, the results eventually follow. That's a law. Stop focusing on the mountaintop and look at the climb. Stop being obsessed with what's next and give your all to what's now. Don't wish for it to be easier. Get stronger. Don't cry for the shortcut. Build your stamina. This is how greatness is made. Not in the moments of glory, but in the moments of silence when no one's there to cheer you on. And if you can learn to love that, if you can love the quiet grind, the private discipline, the lonely reps, then nothing can stop you. Because you're not just chasing a win anymore. You're becoming someone unstoppable. All because you fell in love with the process. Everybody wants success, but not everybody is willing to show up when it's hard. They talk about wanting it, dreaming about it, praying for it, but the moment life punches them in the mouth, they fold. The moment things don't go exactly the way they imagine, they tap out. But here's the truth. The process doesn't wait for your mood, and success doesn't show up for the person who's kind of committed. Results come to the ones who show up without excuses. Every single day. You see, excuses are easy. They're comfortable. They're safe. They give you a back door to failure. But excellence doesn't have a back door. Champions don't keep options open for quitting. When it's raining, they show up. When it's cold, they show up. When it's cold, frustrated, broke, hurting, they still show up. Why? Because they made a decision that this is who they are now. Not when it's easy. It's not when everything's perfect. Always. People think showing up only matters when there's something big on the line. But no, the small days are the big days. The days when you don't want to do it and you do it anyway. That's where the breakthrough is. That's where the results are born. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It doesn't get applause. But that's where the real progress happens. In the invisible hours, in the quiet moments of choosing to grind over the excuse. Let me be real with you. Most people don't fail because they're not talented. Most people fail because they don't show up consistently enough for their talent to even matter. You can have all the potential in the world, but if you show up once a week, or only when you feel inspired, you're going to lose to the one who shows up daily with less talent, but more hunger. You don't need perfect condition. You need relentless commitment. Stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is a feeling. It comes and goes. You can't build your dreams on feeling. You build your dreams on discipline. Discipline says, I don't care how I feel today. I show up anyway. Discipline doesn't care if it's cold, if you're stressed, if you're sore. It says, this is what we do. No negotiations. And that's the kind of fire you need inside you if you want real results. You can't keep giving your goals partial effort and expecting full rewards. You can't keep saying, I'll do it tomorrow and expect today's opportunity to wait. The clock doesn't stop because you're tired. Life doesn't pause because you had a bad day. Your competition isn't slowing down because you're in your feelings. While you're making excuses, somebody else is making progress. While you're waiting for perfect timing, someone else is taking action in a mess. And that's why they're winning. I've seen people with no resources, no support, no experience outwork people who had every advantage. Why? Because they made a decision to show up every day without failure. They didn't ask if it was fair. They didn't wait for conditions to be right. They said, this is what I want, and I'm willing to outlast the pain, the boredom, the fatigue, and the obstacles to get it. That's the level of commitment the process demands. Not convenience, not comfort, consistency, grit, unshakable effort. When you live like that, the process begins to work for you. It begins to mold you, build you, elevate you. It takes the raw material of your effort and shapes it into excellence, but only if you show up and give it everything. You've got to get to a place where showing up becomes your identity. Not something you do, something you are. You are the one who shows up when it's hard. You are the one who pushes through when others quit. You are the one who doesn't negotiate with your goals. You don't need to be told. You don't need to be reminded. You just do it because it's who you become. And let me tell you, there's power in that. There's power in knowing that no matter what happens, you'll show up. No matter how you feel, you'll grind. That makes you dangerous. That makes you consistent. That makes you unstoppable. Because while everyone else is controlled by their mood, you're driven by your mission. And that kind of person is rare. That kind of person gets results. That kind of person wins. So stop just talking about what you want. Stop fantasizing about the finish line. Start showing up every day. No excuses, no complaints, no waiting for the perfect condition. Just relentless execution. Show up broken. Show up tired. Show up tired. Show up scared, but show up. Because when you do that enough times, you won't have to chase results. Results will start chasing you. You keep waiting to feel like it. You keep sitting around hoping motivation is going to come knocking on your door and drag you into action. But let me tell you the truth. Motivation fades. It's a spark, not a flame. It gets you started, but it will never keep you going. If you want to go the distance, if you want to do something legendary, it won't be because you were motivated every day. It'll be because you were disciplined, Disciplined enough to show up when you were tired. Focused enough to stay locked in when the world got noisy, and committed unto grind when nobody was clapping. You think the successful people wake up every day feeling like champions? You think the greats are motivated all the time? Nah. The best in the world aren't relying on hype. They're relying on habits. Motivation is emotional, discipline is structural. Motivation is temporary, discipline is foundational. Discipline shows up when motivation's gone. Discipline carries you when the fire is low, when the dream feels distant, and when the obstacles feel too big. That's when you need discipline the most. And that's when most people fold. Fold! Let me be real with you. It's easy to do the work when you feel inspired. It's easy to train hard when everything in your life is lined up perfectly. It's easy to push when you're seeing progress. But what about when you're not? What about when you've been showing up and nothing's happening yet? What about when the scale doesn't move, when your business isn't growing, when your views are stuck, when no one's supporting you? That's the moment where discipline steps in and says, we don't stop, we don't give up, we keep going. That's the difference maker right there. That's the separator. Because most people quit when the feelings fade. Most people only work when it's convenient. Most people only grind when the energy's high and the vision is crystal clear. But champion, they move regardless. They don't ask themselves how they feel. They already made the decision. And that decision gets honored, whether they're tired, bored, frustrated, or discouraged. Discipline doesn't care about your feelings. Discipline keeps showing up until the results show up too. It's not sexy, it's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's powerful. You wake up and you do what needs to be done, period. You train, you study, you practice, you build, you write, whatever it is. You do it even when your emotions scream otherwise, because you shifted from being driven by emotion to being grounded in principle. You're not dependent on motivation. You built a system, a standard, a code. And that code says, this is what we do no matter what. People say they want greatness, but their actions don't match their goals. They wait for perfect conditions. They treat the process like an option, not a requirement. But discipline says, we're in it for the long haul. Discipline says, I'm not here to play games, I'm here to get results. Discipline doesn't skip workouts. Discipline doesn't hit. Discipline doesn't check out when things get inconvenient. Discipline shows up. Let me give it to you another way. Discipline is like compound interest. Every time you show up even a little bit, you're making a deposit. You might not see the return right away, but it's growing. It's building. Day by day, rep by rep. And over time, that consistency creates momentum. That's when people look at you and say, oh, wow, you're so motivated. Now, I'm not motivated, I'm consistent. I'm disciplined. I build a habit that doesn't ask for permission. It just gets to work. You can't keep living a life based on how you feel. Your feelings lie. Your feelings shift with the weather. You feel lazy, you skip. You feel tired, you rest. You feel discouraged, you give up. And then you wonder why your life isn't changing. You wonder why your results are stuck. It's because you're loyal to your emotions instead of your mission. Flip the switch. Get loyal to the process. Get married to the grind and let the discipline drive. You think you need motivation to act, but here's the truth. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel good, you move. And once you start moving, once you start stacking wins, once you start gaining traction, that's when motivation shows up. But by then, you're already in motion. You're already on fire. You're already becoming unstoppable. So forget waiting to be motivated. Burn that idea to the ground. Build habits. Build routines. Build a lifestyle that doesn't depend on how you feel. Build a version of you that shows up no matter what. Because when discipline becomes your baseline, nothing can knock you off track. You'll move forward even when it's dark, even when it's hard, even when it's slow. And that's how you win. Not by feeling great every day, but by being great every day, regardless of how you feel. The process doesn't care about your feelings. It's not designed to cater to your emotions, your comfort, or your mood. The process is raw, it's cold, it's ruthless, and that's exactly why it works. Because it strips away the fluff, the excuses, the softness. It demands effort, whether you feel good or not. It demands consistency, whether you're motivated or exhausted. And most people can't handle that. Most people bow out the moment it gets uncomfortable because they think everything in life is supposed to feel good. But greatness, growth, mastery, none of that asks how you feel. It just asks whether you're willing to keep going. You want success, but you keep trying to negotiate with the grind. You keep looking for the easy version, the painless version, the version that feels inspiring all the time. But let me tell you something, that version doesn't exist. The real work doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't wait until you're ready. Doesn't check in to see if you're in the mood. It just shows up every single day and says, let's go. And if you don't answer that call, not once or twice, but over and over again, the opportunity passes you by. It doesn't pause. It doesn't feel sorry for you. It moves on to the one who shows up anyway. You can't train for excellence part-time. You can't build something lasting by giving half effort. You can't grow into your potential by only working on the days you feel like it. Your feelings are irrelevant to the process. Because the truth is, the days you feel the worst are the most important days to keep going. The days you want to quit, those are the defining moments. That's when the process is really doing its job, pushing you past your limits, reshaping who you are, and preparing you to handle the life you say you want. Most people get excited at the start. They love the idea of transformation. They love the dream. They get hyped when they set the goal. But the process doesn't care about your excitement. It doesn't reward good intention. It rewards execution. It rewards showing up when it's raining, when your body hurts, when your bank account is empty, when nobody is watching. That's what separates the doers from the talkers. Everybody wants to eat, but few are willing to hunt every day. You have to understand that pain is part of the process. Frustration is part of the process. Fatigue is part of the process. That doesn't mean something's wrong. It means something's working. You're being challenged. You're being tested. You're being stretched into a stronger version of yourself. But what most people do, they take that as a sign to stop. They feel a little resistance and they back off. They take a bad day and turn it into a bad week. They let a moment of discomfort erase months of discipline, all because they believe their feelings were more important than their future. But not you. You've got to be different. You got to get to a place where your standard is higher than your mood. You got to move like a machine, focused, locked in, relentless. Because your purpose is bigger than how you feel. Your vision is bigger than your fatigue. Your goals demand more than your emotions are willing to give. And that's where discipline kicks in. That's where maturity shows up. That's where real progress is born. Not from inspiration, but from repetition. The process doesn't care about your bad day. It doesn't care if you didn't sleep. It doesn't care if people doubted you or talk behind your back. It's not emotional. It's structural. You either get the reps in or you don't. You either do the work or you don't. That's the truth. And the moment you accept that, the moment you stop needing to feel good to do good, you free yourself. Stop being a slave to your emotion. You stop being tossed around by your circumstances. And you start taking control of your life, day by day, brick by brick. You gotta be willing to put your feelings to the side and honor the process no matter what. You've gotta become the type of person who does what needs to be done, even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, and unnoticed. That's what builds character. That's what creates legacy. That's what forges warriors, not hype, not excitement, not emotion, execution, repetition, consistency. So the next time you're tired, remember the process doesn't care. The next time you're stressed, remember the process doesn't care. The next time you feel like quitting, remember the process doesn't care. But your future will, your dream will, your family will. The next version of you, the one waiting on the other side of all this effort will care. They're counting on you to push through, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. So forget how you feel. Focus on what you're building. Because every time you push through those low moments, every time you refuse to give in to weakness, every time you grind when it doesn't feel good, you say you want it. You say you're committed. But every time it gets hard, you start looking for a way out. Every time it doesn't go your way, you start doubting. Every time the pain shows up, you start questioning whether it's even worth it. But let me tell you something loud and clear. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the teacher. Pain is the trainer. Pain is the doorway to the version of you that you say you want to become. You can't grow without it. You can't level up without going through the fire. And if you keep running every time it hurts, you'll never earn what you were born to have. People want greatness, but they don't want the grind. They want success, but they don't want the scars. They want the reward, but they're not willing to suffer for it. Let me break it to you. You will suffer, you will struggle, you will bleed, cry, and question everything. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. That's the toll you pay for transformation. That's the price of becoming extraordinary. If it didn't hurt, it wouldn't matter. If it was easy, everyone would have it. But the reason so few make it is because they treat pain like a sign to stop, not a signal to grow. When the pain shows up, it's not punishment. It's preparation. It's breaking the old you down to make room for the new you. It's chiseling away the weakness, the excuses, the laziness. It's testing how bad you really want it, because anyone can work when it's easy. Anyone can show up when the skies are clear. But who are you when it's dark? Who are you when the doubt creeps in, when the setbacks hit, when the people around you disappear? That's when your character's revealed. That's when the real you gets built. Not in the sunshine, but in the storm. Stop trying to avoid the pain and start embracing it. Lean into it. Let it do its work. Let it burn away everything that's not strong enough to carry your future. That frustration you feel, that's the old version of you screaming on its way out. That pressure you feel, that's the process shaping you. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. You're being refined. And you're being refined. And yeah, it hurts. It's supposed to. There will be days when your body says to stop. When your mind says, oh, quit. When your heart says, I can't do this anymore. But you gotta have something deeper than motivation. You've gotta have purpose. You've gotta have a reason so powerful that even when everything in you says give up, you dig deeper and find a way to keep going. That's where greatness lives. Past the pain, past the pressure, past the breaking point. When you get there and you refuse to break, you're not just surviving, you're becoming. It's not about being the strongest, it's not about being the smartest. It's about being the one who refuses to quit. The one who takes the pain and turns it into fuel. The one who uses every setback as a setup. Every failure as feedback. Every bruise as proof that they showed up and fought. That's who wins. That's who lasts. You see, champions don't run from the pain, they chase it. They understand that pain is the signal that they're in the right place, doing the right work, fighting the right fight. You got to get to a place where pain doesn't scare you anymore, where discomfort becomes normal, where struggle becomes part of the routine. That's how you become unbreakable. That's how you become unbreakable. That's how you rise when others fall. You've been told that pain is something to be avoided, something to numb, something to escape. But that lie is keeping you weak, because everything you want is on the other side of pain. The body you want, you got to suffer for it. The business you want, you got to struggle for it. The mindset you want, you've got to break through all the mental barriers that have been holding you back. It all comes with a cost. And the currency is pain. So the next time you feel like quitting, ask yourself, what am I really running from? Growth, progress, power. Because that's what pain produces. That's what discomfort leads to. It's not there to break you, it's there to build you. And if you can just endure it, just hold on a little longer, you'll see the other side. You'll look back and realize the pain didn't stop you, it shaped you. You were made for this, you were made for this. You were built to endure. You've already survived things most people couldn't handle. Don't let this moment define you. Let it refine you. Get push you. Let it mold you into the beast you were born to be. The pain is temporary, but the strength you gain from surviving it, that's forever. So don't run. Don't hide. Don't quit. Walk through it. Own it. Rise from it. Because pain is not the enemy. It's the path. And if you embrace it, if you trust it, it will take you to places motivation never could. Most people never reach their full potential because they expect results too fast. They treat growth like a microwave. Push a few buttons, wait 60 seconds, and boom, success. But that's not how life works. Real growth takes time. Real mastery takes time. Building something meaningful, becoming someone powerful, becoming great. That's a slow, sometimes invisible grind. It's brick by brick, day by day, and most people don't have the patience for that. They start strong, but when the results don't show up fast enough, they check out. They walk away. They say, if this isn't working, when in reality, they didn't give it enough time to work. You've got to understand, the seeds you plant today don't sprout tomorrow. You plant, you water, you wait. You stay consistent, you stay committed. You keep showing up even when there's no sign of life yet. Because the breakthrough is always buried under layers of delay, struggle, and silence. Just because you can't see the progress doesn't mean it isn't happening. Just because the world isn't clapping yet doesn't mean the growth isn't real. Most of the transformation happens underground, where nobody sees it. But if you abandon the process before the harvest, you'll never taste the results. This is why patience is a wet patience, separates those who want it from those who are just curious. When you're truly committed, time doesn't scare you. Delay doesn't discourage you. You stop chasing quick wins and you start chasing real growth. You stop counting the days and you start doing the work, day in, day out, whether it's visible or not, whether it's celebrated or not. Because you've fallen in love with the work, not just the reward. You think successful people got where they are overnight. You think they posted a few times and went viral. You think they trained for a few weeks and became champ. Nah, they put in years, quiet years, lonely years. Years where no one noticed, no one cared, no one supported. But they kept showing up anyway. They kept grinding. They kept stacking small wins because they understood something powerful. Compound effort creates exponential results, but only if you don't quit. The process isn't always pretty. In fact, most of the time it's boring. It's repetitive. It feels like nothing is changing. You're putting in the reps, you're doing the work, and it looks like nothing's moving. That's where most people give up. But what they don't realize is the roots are growing. The foundation is being laid. And if you give up too soon, you miss the moment it all starts to click. That's why you got to keep going. Not until it gets hard, but until it works. Not until you're tired, but until you're transformed. You don't get to decide how long it takes. You only get to decide if you're going to stay in the game. It's easy to stay motivated when the progress is obvious. When the numbers go up, when the compliments come in, when the momentum builds, anybody can keep going then. But the people who win, they grind through the dry season. They show up when the scoreboard hasn't changed. They move forward even when it feels like they're stuck, because they know that patience isn't passive, it's powerful. It's not waiting and wishing, it's waiting and working. You don't just sit back and hope. You stay active, you stay focused, you stay locked in. The delay is part of the development. The waiting season is where your mindset gets strong. That's where your character is tested. That's where your discipline is built. Because if you can keep showing up with no applause, with no recognition, with no confirmation, then you got what it takes to win. Not because it's easy, but because you refuse to walk away when it got hard. That's what defines a winner. Not talent, not luck, but the willingness to endure when most people would have quit. So stop asking, how long is it gonna take? Start asking. Now, how far can I go if I just don't stop? The timeline doesn't matter. The tempo doesn't matter. What matters is that you've made a decision to keep going, a decision to trust the process, a decision to give it everything, even when it's giving nothing back. Yeah, every master was once a beginner who didn't quit. Every expert was once invisible. Every legend was once laughed at, doubted, overlooked. What made the difference? Patience, persistence, the ability to keep moving when it felt like nothing was moving. The maturity to stay locked in on the process, not addicted to quick results. So plant the seed, show up every day. Water it with action, discipline, effort. And then wait. Keep working. Keep believing. Because one day, when you least expect it, that seed will break through the surface. And when it does, it won't be because you got lucky. It'll be because you stayed, because you endured. Because you respected the process enough to let it take the time it needed. Everybody wants to be at the top, but not everybody wants to start at the bottom. See, the world celebrates the result, but it often forgets the reality. Every champion started out looking like a beginner. Every expert was once clumsy, uncertain, and awkward. Every master once questioned if they had what it takes. But here's what separates the great from the average. They didn't let that stop them. They showed up anyway. They embraced the awkward. They accepted the imperfection because they understood one thing: you can't skip the beginning. You can't bypass the ugly part. You have to be willing to look foolish before you look impressive. The reason most people never become great is because they're too proud to be bad at something. They want to be polished on day one. They want to post perfect work. They want praise before they're put into pain. But that's not how growth works. Growth starts messy. Growth starts slow. Growth starts with you stumbling, fumbling, getting laughed at, doubting yourself, but doing it anyway. You don't earn confidence by waiting to feel ready. You earn it by moving through the discomfort, by putting in the reps when it's not pretty, not clean, and definitely not easy. You want to build something powerful. You've got to be willing to start small, start scared. Start when nobody believes in you, maybe not even you. That's the real beginning of transformation. It's not when the world is clapping. It's when you're grinding alone, questioning yourself, wondering if it's even worth it. And in those moments, you've got a choice. You either keep going and grow or you stop and settle. Too many people settle. They choose comfort over progress. But you've got to choose discomfort. You've got to choose the road where you don't look like a star, because that's the only road that leads to stardom. The truth is, you will fail. You will mess up. You will be slower than you want, less skilled than you hope. But that's not a reason to quit. That's the reason to keep going. Because every time you fail, you're learning. Every time you fall, you're growing. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be persistent. Nobody becomes world-class overnight. You gotta be willing to look average before you look elite. Think about it. A bodybuilder doesn't walk into the gym with a six-pack. An author doesn't write a bestseller with their first draft. A speaker doesn't inspire millions with their first speech. There's a gap between who you are and who you want to be. And that gap is filled with effort, repetition, and the humility to start low. If you're not willing to be a beginner, you'll never be a finisher. That's the part social media won't show you. The thousands of hours behind closed doors. The misstep, the rejections, the rough drafts. You see the final product, but you don't see the process. And that can mess with your head if you're not careful. You start comparing your day 1 to someone else's day 1,000, and then you get discouraged. But understand this, everyone who's great now was once exactly where you are. The only difference? They didn't give up. So if you're in the beginning stages, don't get frustrated, don't rush, don't try to skip ahead. Embrace it, fall in love with it. Because the skills you build now in this raw stage are the ones that will carry you when the lights turn on. This is where your grit gets built. This is where your hunger gets tested. This is where your foundation gets laid. And without a strong foundation, you can't sustain success anyway. There's something beautiful about being a beginner. You've got nothing to prove. You're free to experiment. You're free to fail. You're free to grow. But the moment you let your ego get in the way, the moment you let pride make you afraid of looking bad, you stop evolving. You stop improving. And you stay stuck in the same place, year after year, wondering why things changing. Don't let that be you. Don't let fear of judgment stop you from taking your first step. Don't let the desire to look perfect keep you from progress. Be bold enough to be bad at something new. Be brave enough to show up even when it's not pretty. Because over time, those reps stack up. That experience compounds. And one day, the same thing that once made you nervous will come as second nature. But only if you're willing to be bad before you're good. Only if you're willing to show up when it's uncomfortable. Only if you can swallow your pride long enough to grow through your pain. So don't hide from the beginning. Own it, respect it, stay in it long enough to see yourself evolve. Because no matter how far you want to go, the journey always starts right here where you are now. Messy, imperfect, but full of potential. And the only thing that turns that potential into power is your willingness to keep showing up. You say you want to be successful, but every time you make a little progress, you start looking around for validation. You start checking the likes, counting the views, waiting for the applause. And the moment it doesn't come, you slow down, you hesitate. You start questioning if it's even worth it. But here's the truth. The world won't always recognize your effort. Sometimes you'll give everything you got, and no one will notice. No one will clap. No one will say, good job. And if your work depends on their applause, you'll never be consistent enough to win. You've got to get to a place where you show up for the work. Not the reward, not the spotlight, not the praise, just the work. Because when you fall in love with the process, the silence doesn't bother you anymore. You stop needing permission to grind. You stop looking for approval to go all in. It's not about who's watching, it's about who you're becoming. And that person, that future version of you, that person is only born through unseen effort, through quiet sacrifice, through moments of discipline when nobody's around to cheer you on. Let's be real. There will be times when you feel invisible, like you're putting in all this effort and nobody sees it. You're training harder, staying up later, studying longer, giving more, and the world stays silent. No recognition, no validation. That's when most people stop. That's when most people say, what's the point? But that's also the exact moment when you separate yourself. Because champions are built in silence. Warriors are made in the shadows. Legends are born in the dark. That's the part people don't post. That's the grind they don't show. When they're tired, when they're doubting themselves, when they feel like nothing is working, that's when the real work happens. Not when it's flashy, not when it's fun, but when it's boring. So it's boring, repetitive, quiet. That's when discipline is built. And discipline will take you places that motivation never could. Motivation is loud, but it fades. Discipline is silent, and it lasts. You gotta stop needing the world to clap for you before you move. Because sometimes the results won't show up for months. Sometimes the growth is happening so deep inside of you, it doesn't show on the outside yet. But that doesn't mean it's not real. That doesn't mean it's not working. You don't ask the seed why it hasn't sprouted the day after planting it. You keep watering it. You trust the process. You trust that with enough time and consistency, the breakthrough will come. The most powerful version of you is not the one that's clapped for. It's the one that claps for itself. The one that wakes up early, not because someone's watching, but because the dream matters that much. The one that trains in silence because it refuses to stay average. The one that doesn't need a stage to act like a star. That version of you doesn't need permission to be great. It just is. And the moment you stop waiting for validation is the moment you unlock your next level. That's when you start doing the work because it's who you are, not because you're hoping someone notices. That's when your identity shifts from performer to warrior, from attention seeker to difference maker. You stop playing small to get noticed and start playing big because you were born to. You stop hustling for applause and start grinding for purpose. Understand this. Most of the greatest achievements in history started in obscurity. The greatest inventions, the greatest movements, the greatest comebacks all began with someone doing the work when no one was looking. No one was looking. Someone staying up when others went to sleep. Someone preparing in private for a moment that hadn't come yet. That's the blueprint. That's the mindset. And if you want to last, if you want to be legendary, you've got to adopt it too. So don't get distracted by who's not clapping. Don't shrink because nobody's watching. Don't slow down because you're not trending. Let everyone else chase attention. You chase excellence. Let them get loud for the cameras. You get quiet and do the work. Because when it's all said and done, the ones who make the most noise usually burn out first. But the ones who grind in silence, they last, they rise, they dominate. You weren't made to blend in. You weren't born to be average. But to become the person you were created to be, you gotta stop outsourcing your fire. You gotta stop waiting for applause and become your own source of fuel. The grind doesn't care who's watching, and neither should you. Put your head down, lock in, do the work, day after day. Rep after rep, with no audience, no spotlight, and no handouts. Because in the end, it's not about who saw you. It's about who you became when no one was watching. Every time you compare your journey to someone else's, you rob yourself of the power in your own path. You scroll through social media and see somebody winning. They've got the body, the followers, the money, the fame. And without even realizing it, you start questioning yourself. You start doubting your process. You ask, why not me? But here's the truth most people don't want to face. Comparison is the killer of momentum. Every time you shift your eyes off your purpose to look at someone else's progress, you slow down your own grind. You've got to understand something. Their timeline is not your timeline. Their process is not your process. You don't know the pain they endured, the sacrifices they made, or the seasons they suffered in silence just to get to where they are. And even if you did, it wouldn't matter. Because their lane isn't yours. Their mission isn't yours. And if you keep trying to run someone else's race, you'll never finish your own. This journey is not about beating others. It's about becoming the best version of you. The truth is, comparison is a distraction. While you're watching their highlight reel, your dreams are collecting dust. While you're sizing yourself up against their success, you're shrinking your own capacity. That energy you spend watching them, you could be using it to build yourself. But the more you look outward, the more you disconnect from your power. That's why it's so important to put your head down and grind in your lane. Because when you're truly locked in, there's no time to compare. There's no space for envy. There's only room for growth. Don't get it twisted. It's okay to be inspired, but don't confuse inspiration with imitation. You weren't created to be a copy of somebody else. You were built with a unique purpose, a unique fire, a unique grind. And the only way to unlock it is to stay true to your own path. You've got to respect your own process. That means respecting the pace, the pain, the progress, even when it's slower than you want. Because it's still movement, it's still forward. And as long as you're moving forward, you're winning. See, when you compare, you start rushing. You start chasing shortcuts. You start doing things out of insecurity instead of alignment. And that's when the foundation starts to crack. Because what's built out of jealousy never lasts. What's built to impress instead of impact always collapses. But when you stay rooted in who you are, when you block out the noise and focus on your own race, you build something that lasts, something real, something that doesn't need validation to survive. You've got to get to the point where you can clap for others without doubting yourself. Their win is not your loss. Their light doesn't dim yours. The only time someone else's success threatens you is when you forget how powerful you are. So stop looking around and start looking within. Every ounce of greatness you need is already inside you. It just needs to be activated by consistency, not comparison. And let's keep it real. Nobody posts their failure. Nobody shows the nights they cry, the mornings they almost quit, the rejections they faced, the inner battles they fought. So when you compare your behind the scenes to their highlight reel, you're judging based on half the picture. You're assuming ease where there was probably pain. And you're building pressure based on a fantasy, not facts. Your journey is not supposed to look like theirs. Your detours are not mistakes, they're part of the preparation. The delays, the setbacks, the slow seasons, they're shaping you into the person who can carry the weight of your destiny. You don't want their story, you want your own story, the one where you earn it, the one where you struggle for it, the one where nobody gave it to you so you appreciate it more when it comes. This is why you gotta fall in love with your own lane. Own it. Protect it. Be proud of it. Even if it's not flashy, even if it's not trendy. Because at the end of the day, what matters most isn't who notices your progress, but that you kept progressing, that you didn't quit, that you didn't let someone else's chapter 20 make you abandon your chapter 2. You want to win? Stay in your lane. Build in silence. Grow at your pace. Celebrate your small wins. Embrace your unique path. Because the moment you stop comparing is the moment you start accelerating. That's when you find your flow. That's when your work becomes authentic. That's when you stop chasing clout and start chasing greatness. And that greatness, it was never about being better than them. It was always about being better than you were yesterday. So don't let comparison distract you. Don't let it rob your joy, your focus, your energy. Stay in your lane and run your race with everything you got, because your lane is sacred. Your purpose is powerful, and the moment you fully commit to it, everything starts to change. You've been grinding for months, maybe years, and you're wondering, why haven't I made it yet? You're looking at all the time you put in, the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, the work you did when nobody else was watching, and you're thinking, where is the reward? But here's what most people don't understand. Greatness isn't built on your timeline. The results don't come when you want them to. They come when you've earned them, Tom. And sometimes that means waiting longer than you thought, pushing harder than you planned, and enduring more than you expected. See, success doesn't follow your schedule. Just because you've been putting in the hours doesn't mean the door is going to open right away. This isn't a fast food dream. This is legacy work. And legacy takes time. It's forged in patience. It's built in seasons of silence where everything feels still. But underneath it all, you're being strengthened. Every rep you've done, every hour you've trained, every failure you faced, none of it is wasted. It's all working together, stacking brick by brick, moment by moment, to build the foundation for your breakthrough. But the problem is we live in a world addicted to speed. We want everything now. Success, fame, wealth, recognition. We want it in days, not decades. And when it doesn't happen fast, we start questioning the process. We start looking for shortcuts. We start wondering that maybe it's not meant to be. But that doubt, that impatience, that's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Because the ones who make it, they don't just work hard. They wait well. They grind when the results are invisible. They show up when there's no reward. They keep their faith when their progress feels invisible. That's the secret. Your time is coming, but only if you're willing to keep working when it's not. Only if you're willing to keep building when nobody's noticing. You've got to train like it's already happening. Prepare like the opportunity is already on its way. Because when the moment finally arrives, it won't wait for you to get ready. It will expect you to already be prepared. That's why the process matters. That's why the wait is part of the win. Because it's turning you into someone who can not only achieve success, but sustain it. Think about a seed planted in the ground. You water it, you care for it, and for a long time, nothing seems to happen. The surface stays the same. You check every day, but there's no visible sign of growth. That's when most people quit. They stop watering it. They dig it up to see if it's working. They get discouraged. But what they don't realize is, under the surface, that seed is building roots. It's creating strength. It's anchoring itself so that when it finally breaks through the ground, it can grow tall and last long. That's your process. That's your journey. You're building roots right now, even if nobody sees it, even if you don't feel it, even if the progress seems too small to matter. Every single step is preparing you. Every rep is strengthening your character. Every failure is sharpening your skills. You're not behind. You're becoming. You're not late. You're learning. You're not forgotten. You're being forged in the fire so that when the storm hits, you won't break. But you got to stop watching the clock. Stop measuring your progress by what you see. Because the real growth, it's internal. It's the stuff nobody claps for. It's the habits you build in the dark, the discipline you develop in silence, the mindset you forge through pain. That's the kind of growth that lasts. That's the kind of growth that can carry the weight of destiny. And you don't get that overnight. You get that by showing up every day, even when it feels like nothing's moving. There are going to be moments when you want to walk away, when everything in you screams, this is taking too long. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can quit and guarantee that nothing happens, or you can keep going and stay in the fight long enough to see the reward. Most people quit right before the breakthrough. They give up at 90% because the pain got louder than the promise. Don't let that be you. You didn't come this far to stop now. You didn't sacrifice all that time, energy, and effort just to give up before the finish line. You've got more in you. You got another level. And even if you don't feel it right now, it's there. You just have to trust the process. Believe that all the work is stacking. All the effort is compounding. That your consistency is building a storm of momentum that will one day explode into opportunity. Your time is coming. But it's not coming to the version of you who quits. It's coming to the version who stayed committed. The one who kept going when nobody else did. The one who believed when it looked hopeless. The one who kept watering the seed even when there was no sign of growth.